Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another session of latest legal updates. You've tuned into the official YouTube channel of Law Store, where we are again discussing the legalities of suicides in India. This is, of course, an extension to our previous video. We have uploaded the part 1 of legalities of suicides in India. We have already discussed laws pertaining to suicide. We have discussed the IPC. We have discussed the Mental Health Care Act. We have discussed the lacunas in these laws. We have also given certain brief explanation from our end as well. In this extension, we're trying to assess the same laws, we're trying to assess the same lacunas in a more detailed fashion, and for that we think we should utilize various cases. Now, I did not, I thought that using proper cases with judgments would be sort of difficult for us, because I think that our audience also comes from a non-legal background. Therefore, I think I can give you a recent case, of course, the Sushant case, wherein, because of course we have ample amount of information. We have it is so fresh to all of us that it'll be easier for you to understand the laws. Again, by no means am I trying to politicize the matter. By no means am I trying to give you a judgment from my end on the matter. I'm just trying to understand and grasp certain pointers from Sushant Singh's case and use them to understand the law. Now, all of us are aware of Sushant's case. It was whatever has happened is a tragic incident. However, what is the issue that I'm trying to touch? I'm trying to touch simple fact. See, of course, Sushant was being, ostracized and was pushed to some sort of a professional oblivion. However, the issue with Sushant's case is simply about inconsistency as far as the investigation is concerned. Now, investigation, I've told you, section 174 of the CRPC is adopted, is utilized, because it gives you a procedure for investigation during unnatural death. Now, 174 lacks scope. It lacks scope in application, it lacks scope in detailing, it lacks scope even when you use 174 to give you any justification when it is being utilized in the court in discussions as well. Number of jurists, number of experts have said this. Lawyers who are stalwarts of criminal law have made it so evident that 174 lacks scope, that it's been now documented in various studies as well. Section 309 works with 174 in cases where a person commits suicide. See, I've made you aware of the fact that the police is not well equipped to deal with suicidal cases, and police has prejudice attached within their mindset as well, because whenever status is involved to a suicide, the very first instinct of the police is that the person was wealthy, the person had see, even in Sushant's case, everyone thought that it's probably murder, because, and I'm not going to the latter part of the case, that how Riya Chakrabarti got involved. Everyone still thinks, and from the day one, they thought that it's proper, some conspiracy theory was being debated in the news as well. Why that was happening was because there is existence of prejudice in the society, there is existence of prejudice in the police as well, the mindset of the police as well, because they think if you are a celebrity, if you are politician, if you are well equipped to deal with your life, if you have enough wealth, why would you commit suicide? But suicide has nothing to do with all these things. That act of committing suicide is only because he or she has some mental issue, and therefore that is why suicides have been touched upon by the Mental Health Care Act. I think so because Sushant's preliminary assessment makes us aware of it, that the IPC is a redundant piece of law when it comes to suicidal cases. Why? As I said, there was inconsistency in Sushant's investigation. Right now, an investigation is governed by 174. If it gives you detailing about the procedure investigation, why is it that the even after in the preliminary investigation, uh, within 15 minutes of the investigation, the police said that it's a suicide. Why are you not taking proper time to come to a conclusion? One. Two, attaching prejudice is another point. There is existence of prejudice anyway, right? Then when you go to the crime scene, and at the crime scene your very first instinct is to declare it as a suicide, it's wrong. Why don't you go and look into the crime scene as a crime scene? You tell the media, if you have to flow some information, tell the media that it's a crime scene, Sushant Singh is no more, and we're investigating. 15 minutes you've taken to come to the conclusion that it's a suicide. Now, moreover, I also feel that this declaration then also came from from one of the ministers of Maharashtra. Mr. Deshmukh said few weeks back that yes, he said to the media in some question that yeah, Sushant's case is a suicide related matter. Now, by no means am I trying to question the authority of the politician, but all I'm saying is the politician should not tell the media, or why even is the politician involved in giving some sort of information about suicide, because technically the investigation has not finished. The investigation is still going. You still have to look into the abetment procedure. You still have to look into the various aspects of the crime scene. How can you come to a conclusion that it's a suicide, and why that has to happen via a politician? Now, why am I saying so? Why I'm saying that 15 minutes are less to assess a crime scene, as far as suicides are concerned. See, a lot of forensic investigation is involved as far as suicides are concerned. This investigation talks about plethora of things, and I'll not go into the intricacies of these things because they are more related to the forensic department. I'll just say that there are a lot of investigations that are to be done by the forensic department, and those investigations take time. Those reports take time. Certainly not 15 minutes. Certainly not 20 days or 30 days. It takes time, and then you have to assess those reports. Therefore, it's a long process. It's a robust process. That is the main reason I think so much time. 15 minutes or 12 or 15 days are not enough to come to a conclusion. One. Second, now all of us are aware of the fact that this case has now transferred to Patna, and both Mumbai police and Patna police are involved. Why has this happened? Now, that has happened, of course, because Sushant's father went in to file certain cases on Riya Chakraborty. But despite that, his father was approaching Patna police since a long time that why are we not being informed about the case? Why are we not being given information about the case? He's our child. He's my son. Why am I not being questioned, and why are my statements not being taken? If they're investigating and some minister is saying that it's a suicide, and then within 15 minutes, of course, they said that it was suicide, then that flow of information should perhaps be conveyed to the parent. This points out nothing but discrepancy. I'll not go into politicizing the matter because I don't think that should be done. I'm just saying these are inconsistencies. I might be wrong, I might be right, but in all cases, this is grey area. These pointers tell us that investigation mechanism of suicides have to be robust. Indian laws pertaining to suicides are not robust because, first, Mental Health Care Act exists with 309. How can two laws who talk about parallel things coexist? One. Second, the mechanism in order to investigate a crime scene as far as unnatural death is concerned, that mechanism, that procedure lacks. It lacks scope, it lacks application, it lacks equipping the police. Lastly, I also feel that with all these things, since a lot of prejudice is attached to suicides, we always fail to look into the mental health care aspect and that narrative of suicides. Because this was, of course, when a person commits suicide, he achieves triumph in this endeavor, the person dies in X and Y and Z. What happens when the person lives? What are we doing about that? Do we then apply MHCA and then we not apply section 309? This is a question of law. And since it's not been well documented perhaps and not been codified in a better manner, I think a codification of a possible coexistence has to happen. See, I went into discuss this with a lot of individuals, a lot of experts. I'll not really give their names, but they said that if 309 will not be there, if section 309 will not be there, and you will only apply section 115, it will be issue. It will be an issue to deal with the cases, because at various instances section 309 is important to equip the police as well. There are people who perhaps use suicides to just create fear and create danger. Why am I saying so? I am saying so because, see, after conducting these interviews with these members of the police and various experts, they told us that there are multiple FIRs which I have read. These FIRs have complaints written by the police officers who were actually standing as security members in order to secure that entire area near a government office. And they said that the person came asking for some permission, the government officer denied that permission. At that very moment, that individual said that they'll jump off the 4th floor if you don't grant this permission. And then they created fear near that area, and they had to be dealt with such a situation, because it happens. You see a government officer facing such a problem, what will you do then? Then the police said that this is a crime. You cannot commit a suicide. Committing suicide is a crime. I'll put you behind bars. That is the time they could fetch the person, bring him to the police station, and deal with him. Now, I'm not saying this is a far larger issue than mental health and suicide. That's not what I'm saying. I am saying there are different sides of this debate. What is my conclusion? See, I think that the conclusion is simple. You have to create some sort of codification to coexist both mental health and section 309. I think both of them are important. However, I do feel IPC is redundant, but it won't be redundant if it is worked or it is utilized with Mental Health Care Act 115, and of course with proper procedural changes in section 174. Why am I saying this? I am saying this because see, IPC is a colonial piece of law. Therefore, in today's world, its application is not right. You cannot utilize IPC in the same manner in which it was made. Now, IPC continues to see every suicide, as a quote-unquote criminal offence. Mental Health Care Act denies that. See, grey area. Investigation procedure is given under 174 of the CRPC, but then there are great levels of inconsistencies. Then, at the same time, the other side of the debate is that how do we deal with such people who create fear due to in the name of suicide? Then you have to understand how 309 will be utilized, and some sort of criminalization is involved or should be there. Therefore, the game here is that the lawmakers should understand is balance and coexistence of both the aspects, because the society can never understand suicides in the right manner. I think it's difficult to erase all those prejudice, to all those and erase all those issues and all those preconceived notions that people have within their minds pertaining to suicides. Therefore, my only conclusion is a step-by-step approach, a step-by-step procedure. How? First step, assessment of the emergency room, assessment of the crime scene, assessment as in fair assessment. Under 174, make changes in the 174. Second step, stabilize the patient. if the patient is still alive, because even in the cases where the person commits suicide but is still alive, that is also crime scene technically as per 309. See, this is the gray area I'm talking about. Therefore, step 2 is to stabilize the patient. First and foremost importance has to be given to mental health. Nothing else should be discussed within the whenever the patient is there, or whenever the person who's committed suicide is there. Third, you have to first register a medio-legal case. See, a criminal case is a second option. First is a medio-legal case, because you should know that even if the person dies, your first aim should be to look into any mental health related issue if the person was facing, and that cannot be ever can come under the police, because police can never be equipped to deal with mental health. And I'm not saying only India. You take any country, police is not equipped to understand mental health, because that is not their forte, that is not their study, their churning process involves nothing related to mental health. Therefore, a medio-legal case has to be registered, and depending on the severity, admissions have to be made if required. Step 4, mandatory, and I say it, mandatory psychiatric referral for a required assessment. You have to make mandatory psychiatric referral, because if you don't do that, you cannot understand the mental state of the individual. In whatever case, the person lives or the person dies. Step 5, you have to inform the patient about the section 115. See, no matter what the situation is, no matter what the problem is, as under the laws of this country, you have to make them aware of section 115. That's their basic right. And making them aware of 115 of the Mental Health Care Act is important, because there is a lot of fear attached in the society, because the person who commits suicide can perhaps feel or think that they have committed suicide, therefore they'll be put behind bars. And we should not create an environment in which the person is frightened, or there should not be any fear within the mindset of the individual, an individual who has just now committed suicide. Step 6. Step 6 is only about inquiry. See, this inquiry first has to be by the health team, second has to be by the police. When the health team does the inquiry, they'll do it in their with their detailing and with their set codified laws. When the police does the investigation, the inquiry, they'll do under section 109, section 118, 116 of the IPC, abetment and related sections. Step 7 will be regarding discharge. See, discharge planning and follow-up should also be an important point that we always fail to touch. You should know that guidelines, there are certain psychiatric guidelines which psychiatric teams can follow in order to give you follow-up care program, or medical assessment even after few months of suicide. And that can obviously be looked upon both by the medical team and by the police as well, if they are well equipped to do so. And I think this step is important, because it is the duty of the government to also look into follow-up plans and how to deal with the person after he or she has committed suicide. Now, I've given you these 7 steps after a robust study. You can at all points given in time go to the Indian Journal of Psychiatry and refer to various documents and gather more information. And I also think it's important for me to give due credit to the Department of Psychiatry, Bangalore Medical College and Research Institution, Karnataka, which gave us this information and this 7-step plan. Now, if I have to give you last revision on suicidal laws, I'm not in a position to say that the pros outweigh the cons or the cons outweigh the pros, because there are so many discrepancies involved that you cannot say that 309 is right or section 115 is right, or any other way. Both of them are right depending upon various situations. Therefore, they have to coexist by some means, and that has to be decided by the lawmakers. I'll leave you with this thought. You can obviously use the comment section to give us any further information and give us your input as well. Thank you for watching the video, and cheers.